Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. On We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening and welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, where our troubled history just keeps repeating itself. We have the highest number of murders of any city this size of Jackson. Poverty runs rampant. Less than 40% of our people live below the poverty levels. We have the highest infant mortality rates. Obesity runs rampant. Right here in Jackson, Mississippi, a city where the African American population is 85%. Right here in Jackson, Mississippi, where the municipal government, the county government, the school boards, and the airport authority are controlled by African Americans. And under African American leadership, we continue to get poor, and the quality of life gets worse and worse and worse. And we're going to talk about that tonight. But I want you to call in tonight at 800-492-5186. That's 800-492-5186. WeBelieveDigital.com, our very own platform. WeBelieveDigital.com. Our platform is no different than Facebook and YouTube and Showtime and Netflix. African American control WeBelieveDigital.com. You can find us, though, on Facebook at We Believe Digital Podcast. You can find us on YouTube at We Believe Digital. On Roku TV, our app sits right there next to Netflix. We're being seen all over the world, emanating right here out of Jackson, Mississippi, with a quality production representing the capacity of the African American community, which the opportunities don't match the capacity. You can advertise with us if you call 800-492-5186, option number 1. But call in tonight at 800-492-5186. We need to talk. I'm going to go directly to my co-host this evening because I'm really troubled. I'm troubled about the way African Americans leaders are treating the African American community, and the things that are going on here in Mississippi is worse than it was in 1964. Oh, we have a new master now, the one that looks like me, dresses like me, and lives in my community with me. And this friendly fire is taking us out one by one by one, being shot in the back by people of your own color, of your own race. I'm really upset this evening. You see, wasn't long ago when the garbage contract first came up, when Waste Management had this garbage contract for 35 years in the city of Jackson. Our young, aggressive mayor sent out a request for proposal. The procurement methodology that the state put in place. He selected the lowest and best bidder for the garbage collection services to be FCC. African Americans combined with the two whites on the city council and voted to turn that recommendation down. And then that council had the audacity to go to the courts to try to get the courts to give them the power to overthrow the executive branch, to in fact pull a coup in the city of Jackson. Strip the power away from the executive branch and the mayor. They have tried to do that, went to court to try to do that. Courts told them they were out of their mind, that they could not do that, and forced that young mayor to have to go into an emergency meeting. And during the emergency meeting, the mayor selected an African-American owned firm, a locally owned firm comprised of 4 African-Americans with over 100 years of business experience. Put $250 million letter of credit on the table and a $900,000 performance bond on the table. Demonstrated they had the yard, the land mass, the equipment, the manpower, the software to move into that particular discipline. What did that African-American dominated council do? They overturned the mayor's declaration of an emergency, said they didn't see an emergency. Listen to me, folk, all over the world. If a mayor can't declare an emergency for his city, he can't govern. But this council overturned the emergency declaration, thereby nullifying the contract that had been awarded to a local African-American owned firm. Blacks, 5 blacks on the city council, and let me just say this right now. I want to give a shout out to our youngest council person, Angelique Lee, a young lady that has stood firm in her position with integrity and dignity and stood firm on every occasion to try to support the African-American community. She did then on the first go-around, and she did then on the second go-around, and I'm going to get to the third go-around in just a minute. Brian Gazelle, I want to say thank you for your stewardship and your leadership. The youngest members of the council stood firm in trying to provide opportunities for an African-American owned, locally owned firm to have an opportunity to move into this industry. While Aaron Banks, Vernon Hartley, Kenny Stokes, all voted to deny an opportunity to an African-American owned firm in a city that's 85% black. Can you even imagine that? But don't stop right there, because it gets worse. The mayor was forced to go out for another RFP because the emergency contract with Waste Management was only for 6 months. So the mayor was forced to go back out for another RFP, and on last Tuesday, the mayor made a recommendation to the city council of the newest, best, and lowest bidder in the third go-around, who happened to be an African-American owned firm, Richards Disposal Services, out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Now here we go again. An African-American has shown up in Jackson, Mississippi, with over 100 years of experience, 108 trucks, bringing all new vehicles to the Jackson metropolitan area in the city of Jackson. Says he's going to hire all African Americans in the city of Jackson that want to work and can work, and going to give them fine wages above what they currently get now, when 30% of all of the employees that currently work for Waste Management are through temp services. You know, when you're through temp services, you don't have any protection. You don't have any benefits associated with that. And yet, this African-American dominated council in a black city, Jackson, Mississippi, in the Deep South, rejected the recommendation for Richards Disposal Services and drilled him at the podium like he was some alien, some person that was not of their color, not of their race. A 79-year-old black man with over 80,000 houses he services in New Orleans, and over 20,000 houses currently being serviced in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and both of those cities are larger than Jackson, Mississippi. And they drilled him on his capacity and wanted to treat him as he was some sham, some individual that hadn't paid his dues, and a 79-year-old black man was taken down by 35-year-old blacks. 3 of them, specifically Aaron Banks, Vernon Hartley, Kenny Stokes, took that African-American man down. And I've commissioned on yesterday to have the drawings done where Kenny Stokes, Aaron Banks, and Vernon Hartley will be depicted with their knees on the neck of Richard's disposal service. And they're going to hold it there for longer than 9 minutes until he is dead. Until every African American knows that don't come this way. Do not try to grow your business and do not try to improve yourself. You see, when it first happened, the community said, well, there must have been a problem with the local African Americans that own the local firm that caused African Americans to vote against them. Maybe they had a problem with Socrates Garrett, or maybe they had a problem with Dwayne Pickett, or maybe they had a problem with Lee Bush, the owner of National Collection Systems, over 25 years in business and picking up garbage in Hinds County, in Madison County, right here locally. Maybe they had a problem with local folk. You know, Jesus didn't get any respect in Nazareth. And so maybe they just don't like local folks, that they don't want to see better, do better in their community. But they proved the point. With the rejection of Richard's disposal services, they proved that a Negro from New Orleans, a Negro from Louisiana, a Negro from Wyoming, a Negro from Dallas, it doesn't matter where a Negro comes from, he will not make it through this maze. It's not an individual Negro they hate. They hate all Negroes. They are there to carry out the works and mandates and make absolutely certain that the master maintains the standard of living that he has, while our community gets poorer and poorer, and our streets get worse and worse, and our tax base gets less and less. And they vote to deny opportunities to our folk. Something has to be done about that, and we're not going to just be on the air preaching and complaining and crying out loud about how bad and how ugly Negroes are. We're not going to do that. We got strategies that we're putting in place. We got answers for this. We had answers for the master the first time that we had to deal with it. My ancestors and your ancestors and Martin Luther King and Medgar and Vernon Damer had answers for that. Yes, some had to give their lives. We lost 2 presidents in the process. Both John and Robert Kennedy had to give their lives trying to elevate the status and the standard of living for Negroes. What a shame. What a disgrace. And yet we have a situation here today where the Negro has no chance. He has no ability to pull himself up when on every accord, every turn, it's either the white man beating him down or the black man beating him down, telling his children to stay on drugs, stay out of school, don't read, forcing everything that's bad in our community and taking away everything that's good. Negroes are doing that, and I'm specifically using the word Negro because I think a Negro is different than a black person. I think a Negro is somebody that has been compromised, somebody that has been coerced, somebody that has this term meritorious. What is that term, Doc?
Manumission. Meritorious manumission.
Meritorious manumission for these Negroes. They ought not be allowed to do this in our community. They ought not be allowed to get away with this in our community. So we're not going to just keep fussing about it. But you can call in tonight at 800-492-5186. It's 800-492-5186. My co-host, Dr. Eldridge Henderson, I'm going to turn the mic over to you as I calm down.
Well, I want you to calm down, but I told you, and I've been telling you for the last 10 years, Mr. Socrates and others, that black people are doomed in Mississippi, in the South, in America, and the world, unless they do something for themselves in the next 9 years. 1 year has passed. If black people don't start where they are with what they have and be their own leaders and get engaged in 5 areas of activity from birth to death, they will be doomed continuously, because the record shows that black people now in America are an outcast.
Hold your point, Doc. Hold your point right there. I went so long, it's time for us to go to a station break. We'll be right back.
COVID's pioneering coronavirus protocol firm, S2-E COVID Solutions, is paving the way forward for a safer city government, delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols which have been developed internationally by top virologists and scientists, using an all-natural cleaning solution that kills COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. Let S2-E COVID Solutions provide innovative, rapid facilities testing and world-class, state-of-the-art bio-risk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. Advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
It's hot in Jackson, Mississippi. It's hot in the wintertime. Mississippi is burning. Jackson is on fire. Dr. Henderson.
What I was telling you earlier, there's a serious problem. And black folks don't have but 9 years to fix it. And this is what you are talking about, Mr. Socrates. There's something called interpersonal racism and something else that's called internalized racism, and that is exactly what black people are doing in Jackson and other areas when they vote against their own interests. Interpersonal racism is when you believe that the white man's power is more supreme than yours, and because he has been teaching that to you so long, you don't think you can do nothing to be better or stronger than his. That is called interpersonal racism. And a lot of blacks have it, especially those that are in that 10%. You know, you told me earlier that you're in that 10%, but you excluded with this interpersonal racism. And then there's something called internalized racism, where that individual specifically does not believe that he is able to get in the game and swing and hit that ball 3 times. So he is given the position to get on the team. And since he has that internal doubt, that interpersonal doubt that he can be superior and be a man or woman of means, he will yield to his enemy. That's the problem in Jackson, in the state of Mississippi, throughout the nation. When you have black leaders in positions of responsibility, all the responsibility in the world, and they are afraid to make a decision because they are afraid to not be liked by the white supremacists, those that practice institutional racism, those that practice systemic racism, institutional-wise, starting in the law. That's the problem. And unless you start in those activity areas that I mentioned, education and training, religion, principles of leadership, economic development, and politics, black folks are doomed. Most of you all don't want to hear it. You get excited in a negative way when I tell you. But this can be solved in 9 years if you say, I'm going to look out for my own education and training, my own politics, my own economic development, and start with self first, family second, and community third. And then you need to get a government, which call an offline government, which you call a shadow government, to manage, organize, and be transparent with these goals and objectives that black people need, and report on the people that have the so-called constitutional power but are afraid to use it. And when you do that, things will start changing overnight. That's the solution to this problem. But when you have that internalized and that interpersonal hatred for self and your folks, even death won't help you.
Wow. Well, I tell you, the cancer has got to be cut out. It's got to be removed. And this thing has gone on too long. We've been watching the erosions of black folks' power and economics for quite some time now. We've been seeing a steady decline in the number of African-American owned businesses are declining all across the country. We have less than 2% of the GNP, less than 1/10 of 1% of the GNP in this country. And yet, we represent over 10% of the population in the entire U.S., and we represent over 40% of the population in the state of Mississippi, where we get less than 2% of contracts for goods and services. All we get is a justice system that locks us up for some insignificant amount of marijuana and charges that are trumped up and locked up, and you go to the prisons and you see nothing up there but African-American males, young men that are being taken out of the system. And they write these policies and institute priorities like no fault insurance. You gotta have that, I'm gonna put you in jail. Child support collection, you don't pay your child support, I'm gonna lock you up, take away your job. You don't care nothing about my children. That's not what you're doing. What you're doing is establishing me as the felon, as a person that has a record, someone that needs to lose all of his rights. And black legislators in the legislature don't say a word. And they are the minority, and they can make things happen, but they can voice opposition.
Every time. They most certainly can. But you're not going to find very many of them doing that. Every now and then it will happen. But that is with a small group. All the black elected and appointed officials that's on committees, in legislatures and so forth, should have what I call the corrective plan. Some call it the corrective prioritized plan, where they all work together on specific issues. And if one walks out of a meeting or a legislature in the Senate, those in the House ought to do the same if they are supporting specific issues. Then they ought to have leadership teams in the community. And you've got to start with the preachers and the religious community to work with these black folks. And we know they have been spewed because a lot of these religious people have been aligned with the white supremacists because of the same two problems: internal racism and interpersonal racism, because they are picked and selected and paid for by the special interest groups in America, and they are silent. Many of our strong state and national black religious leaders don't say a word about anything. But if you go and check out their bank account, you'll find that they get money from 7 and 8 different monitors who's looking out for their interests every month. Many of them are millionaires.
Well, now we're going to have to go to the strategy on what we're going to do to solve the problem. It's clear to us now that we can no longer depend upon our elected officials to do the right thing to lead us. So we're going to have a new method that we govern ourselves by. Hold on a second. Carla, you're on the air. Carla, can you hear me? Carla, you there? I can't get this call, engineer, so we'll come back to it later. We're going to have to go to a new method of protecting and governing ourselves. So here we go. A group of us have decided that enough is enough, that we must put some plans in place to turn this around. So we have formed the shadow government. The shadow government. And the shadow government is designed to mirror our elected officials. When we do that, we're going to take the same agendas that they have in front of them as it relates to economic development. And we're going to see exactly how the community feels about how those things should have been done, who the contracts were awarded to and who they were not awarded to, and who are the minorities that are on the team of the majority companies and what roles do they play. We're going to bring transparency. So if you're out there, we're looking to seat 7 council people. We need at least 2 from each ward. That's 1 that will seat with an alternate. And we'll need a mayor. And let me just give a shout out to Mayor Anton Lumumba right here today. The young man has stood his ground on the most critical issue that has come before Jackson in the last 20 years. You see, this garbage contract is the most critical issue that has come before Jackson citizens in the last 20 years because of the economic impact that it'll have on our city. And the mayor has stood there 3 times and tried to deliver for his people. See who that is for me there, Doc, see if they want to be on there. And so I shout out to this mayor because he stood his ground. And we appreciate that and appreciate him. So we're going to seat 7 council people, a mayor, and an acting city clerk. So if you want to serve with the shadow government, we're going to meet once a week for an hour to go over the agendas of our city government. And we're going to make our report. We're going to have our press conference, and we're going to report our findings each week. I mean, once a week for the city. The next week, we're going to do the Board of Supervisors. So we need 5 board members for our Board of Supervisors. Hold on a second. Carla, you're on the air.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening, Mr. Socrates. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, doing good.
Look, I want to tell you, sir, I appreciate you about the things that you were doing. But I'm going to tell you something, Mr. Socrates. I agree with a lot of things that you're saying. Mostly, I agree with everything that you're saying. But let me tell you what we need also, Mr. Socrates. We got a lot of brothers out here who be on the same accord with you. We might not have the same wealth and the same access to stuff like you have, but we're on the same accord. Let me tell you what's going on out here. Even though y'all building and doing all that, you need a force. The problem that we don't have is we don't have any protection with our city. If we come together as black men and we say, if you commit these atrocities towards us, we're going to meet you eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, and life for life. And I'm telling you, brother, there's some young brothers out here who we on the same accord, and we're going to be there to support you. We just going to have to move in the same direction as the Most High. No foolishness. We'll bring the end to this.
Thank you so much, Carla. You know, there is nothing better than a dedicated, committed soldier. Individuals that share visions, that see the problem, and know that if they don't do something about it, that their children are doomed. So shadow government, we need 7 city council peoples. We're going to meet and deal with the city one week. We're only going to meet 1 hour per week, but we're going to deal with these 4 entities. The second week, we're going to deal with the Hinds County Board of Supervisors. So we need 5 members of the Board of Supervisors. The third week, we're going to deal with the Jackson Public School System. And we need board members for that. In the 4th week, we're going to deal with the Airport Authority. And then we'll rotate that back the next week. And we'll hold our press conference. Some of our meetings will be held in City Hall. You see, City Hall belongs to us. Somewhere we got this thing all twisted, where elected officials think that we work for them. We don't. They work for us. And so some of our meetings will be at City Hall. Others will be in our own broadcast studio. Some of them will be like town hall meetings in remote locations. We envision that shadow government is going to bring more accountability and transparency to this city than anything that's ever happened before. And at the end of the quarter, we're going to publish report cards on all our elected officials in Hinds County. We're going to publish report cards on all our elected officials in Hinds County. And so as we seek these council people, they will be being trained. They will be being developed. They will understand the issues. They will understand how the community feels. They will get the pulse of the community inside of them. And that's critically important. We got to go to a station break, but we're going to continue to outline this strategy when we come back. Stay tuned.
Govt's pioneering coronavirus protocol firm, S2-E Govt Solutions, is paving the way forward for a safer city government, delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols which have been developed internationally by top virologists and scientists, using an all-natural cleaning solution that kills COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. Let S2-E Govt Solutions provide innovative, rapid facilities testing and world-class, state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the We Believe Global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at webelieve.global.
You see, the issue is so critical that most of the people in opposition to what our black folk are doing publicly are whites. Now tomorrow at 9:30, there are going to be a group of 25 or 30 white people on the west side of City Hall asking our black council people to reconsider. Well, let me say they're going to be on the east side, or they're going to be on the north side, so these Negroes won't try to go in the other door. You don't know what door they're going to be at. But the issue is that they have to come and ask black folk to do right by black folk. There won't be many black folk at City Hall tomorrow. It'll be far more white folk there than black folk, fighting for what's right for black people. Our people are silent. They've become so accustomed to taking the abuse until it's a part of their life. They have their underground culture and they have their judicial system, and that's where all this killing is coming from. Because they got an entire different economy down there that's different. 85-90% of black people in Jackson, Mississippi don't have no banking account. They don't have no checking account. They don't have any employment. 45% of your population is under the poverty level. And yet when black folk come before our black folk with an opportunity, they get voted down. Shadow government. That's the way we're going. Dr. Henderson?
Well, one thing we want our viewers to understand, that a shadow government has 4 major components. One is a leadership team. The second one is a shadow budget that represents the one that's in reality. The third one is transparency, where they report, as you said, on a regular basis. And the fourth component of a shadow government is a comprehensive new registration plan. And throughout the history of mankind, shadow governments has always existed, and in many cases they change things to the point where they are elected to the position that they are shadowing, and many times it can happen in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 10 years. In a local level, I would say on a local level, usually a shadow government can win the majority seats within a 2-year period, because all you need to rule in the so-called democratic America is 51%. You need a majority. So that can easily happen. And of course, you're not satisfied with local government. You're looking at state government in the future. You're looking at national government. And then in a few years, the same thing can happen on the international scale with representation in the United Nations. All of this can start right here in Jackson, Mississippi. And at the end of the 9 years that I've been talking about, it can be an international deal where the black people, not only in Mississippi, not only in the South, not only in the nation, but all over the world, can be doing the same thing, because all the black people throughout the world are victims of institutional racism, even the rich ones. That is a historical fact. And it's all by design, and it could not happen unless the black man, and in some cases the black woman, are not complicit in these ideas. It's a disgrace and a historical shame, but it is a fact.
It is a fact. So shadow government, we're looking forward to it. We're going to implement it. We already have members that are seated, and we're looking to finalize the selection of our inaugural committee. And we're going to have our first meeting in this month. And we're off and running. Shadow government will have its own economic team. We will go on our own trade missions to try and recruit businesses to come into our community. You know, we know way more people than our locally elected officials know. You couldn't put Vernon Hartley's Rolodex anywhere near mine. You couldn't put Aaron Banks' Rolodex and the network of the people that he knows anywhere close to the business communities out here. You see, so we just got to go take things in our hands, and we got to go to work. And we can't do that without an organization. So the organization is shadow government. I'm very excited about it. The ministers are very excited about it. Our legal team is excited about it. And we are going to bring transparency, and we're going to bring accountability to our community. You will not walk up in our community and treat our people any way that you want to. That will not happen. That did not happen for my ancestors, and it's not going to happen with me, and it's not going to happen with those like-minded people. And as the caller said earlier, our people are just looking for leadership. They are ready. They just look for somebody to show up, to say, call it play, and say we're going in this direction. That's all they've been waiting on. I had no desires to be cast in a position of advocating this hard at 75 years old. I'm not advocating for anything I'm trying to accomplish for myself personally, but my son is 28 years old, and your child is 28 years old. What would life be for them? And so like-minded individuals know that we got to do something for our children. And this is all we can think of doing it. Now, let me just say this and make this clear. I mean, this is war we're in now. This is not philosophy anymore. This is strategy. This is how we take back our government. This is how we make certain that our people don't be mistreated anymore. Let's take this call. Caller, you're on the air.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Thank you for taking my call. I hope I'm not out of order by saying this, but I would like to hear from Kenny Stokes, Vernon Hartley, and Aaron Banks on why they voted against the garbage collection from Richardson. I think they need to call up here and defend themselves and explain to the people why they did what they did. Everyone doesn't have access to get down and be a part of the meeting, so this is a good avenue for them to call and explain why they did what they did. So the next thing I have is I've heard you speak about the contract at the stadium after the SU football games. I would like to know, and it doesn't have to be tonight, who has that contract to clean the stadium after all the games, and who has the authority to approve those contracts. Thank you for taking my call, and I'll just hang up now and let you maybe elaborate on that or give your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Well, Kenny Stokes and Vernon Hartley and Aaron Banks, you're welcome to call in. You're welcome to come to the studio. As a matter of fact, it's going to be impossible for you not to come, because the pressure is going to be turned up so high until you're going to have to explain why you did this, and you're going to have to ask for forgiveness. You see, it's nothing new to be betrayed in our community. I was talking to Dr. Henderson before the broadcast tonight, and he told me there were 12 disciples with Jesus. And he said 5 of those betrayed him. I asked him, I said, were the disciples black? Because what I'm seeing right now, greater harm, no greater harm that can be done to me by anybody than the harm that's being done by my own people. And when I say me, I'm talking about the African American business community. I'm not talking about Socrates Garrett. No greater harm can be done than to sit there and watch a 79-year-old man with 108 trucks, 50 years in business, being talked down to and drilled about his capacity, knowing full well that they had no intention of voting for him. The charades and the convenient disguise of the antics when you see the white woman change her vote to vote for him, knowing full well that the other 3 council people were going to vote against and Aaron Banks would abstain. You know it would fail. So we continue to give white people cover. Black folk. When New Horizons went before the Hinds County Board for the training center to be located on the campus of New Horizon Church, it was black folk that voted against it, allowing the white folk to vote for it, knowing that it would fail. We're going to expose all this. We're going to make a difference in our community. Shadow government is the tool, and that's not enough. After that, we're going to reinstitute the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. It's already up and running in other counties. I've spoken to the young man in Holmes County and told him that we'd like to bring the charter back into Hinds County. He said, let's do it. I'm talking about the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, the one that Fannie Lou Hamer went to D.C. and said, I'm sick and I'm tired and enough is enough. I'm talking about that party, one with history, when black folk stood together, when black folk supported one another, black folk cared for one another, when they helped each other get their crops out of the field. Nobody had any homeowners insurance. If your house burned down, the community built it back. Black folk loved one another and had a common enemy. But today, they don't wear hoods anymore. They're not disguised anymore. It's right there in your face on national TV. And we do nothing. We're going to go to a station break. We'll be right back.
COVID's pioneering coronavirus protocol firm, S2-E COVID Solutions, is paving the way forward for a safer city government, delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols which have been developed internationally by top virologists and scientists, using an all-natural cleaning solution that kills COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. Let S2-E COVID Solutions provide innovative, rapid facilities testing and world-class, state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. Advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
This is our last segment for this evening, and most of my time after this show will be dedicated to organizing and facilitating and getting shadow government up and running. For me to come on here every week and cry and scream doesn't do much good. We're going to have to go stealth, and we're going to have to organize, and we're going to have to implement strategies that make a difference in our community. And the number one strategy, let me put it this way, the number one goal is to remove failed leadership that is oppressing black folk in their own community. It is impossible for me to watch a 40-year-old black man take down a 79-year-old black man the way it happened at our city council. And Vernon Hartley act as if he had some drug issue in the way he drilled and came after the young man. It's impossible to watch that happen. We will not allow that to happen. Caller, you're on the air.
How's everybody doing? This is Silky.
Hey, Silky.
I want to talk about the gentleman that called in. I totally agree with what he said. I tried to call Aaron Banks now. He's our city council person. He would not answer his phone. And with what I can understand, he's supposed to be running for the mayor. Oh, no, he's not. As long as I am breathing, that God has me breathing, he is not going to become no mayor. If you can't be a good city council person, how in the hell are you going to be a mayor? That's not going to happen. Not now, not never, as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
and people can say whatever they want to say, you know, but that's how it stands. If I can't do it right, Silky's not going to do it at all.
Thank you so much, Silky.
So,
there are a lot of people who feel
yeah.
the same way that you do out here.
Yes, you know. So he needs to give me a call. Peace out.
All right. Dr. Henderson?
What I want to tell you, just so people will understand, the shadow government will not be a sitting duck. You told them one thing that's most important: it will have its own legal team and its own legal budget. And all the people that volunteer for these positions will be qualified and certified and proven leaders, and we're not looking for what they call Uncle Toms and people that feel that they can help themselves by hurting themselves. So when you have your legal team with money, where you have access to some of the best lawyers in the country, you can get some respect, because you can file suits against the people that are abusing their job descriptions and conducting what I call malfeasance in office and downright hypocritical deeds that's unconstitutional. Good lawyers can find that and then file a suit against them twofold: an individual suit and a collective suit, including the city or the county or the state or the agency they represent. And then you can deal with them further. Good lawyers then will take them to the civil side of this suit if they lose initially. So this is serious business.
It's real serious, Doc.
It's not a little fly-by-night operation, and many of us going to be criticized for it. Certain people on the team, Mr. Garrett, going to be called by the special interest groups and offered certain prizes to change their mind. Others are going to be threatened and say, I know you're working. This is your last week. I know you own a house note, a car note, and you got to pay it back in 30, 60, or 90 days, or we're going to take it. Those are the things you can expect from the opposition. Because anyone that has a contract where you're making almost $800,000 a month will do almost anything to keep it.
Well, that's being demonstrated every day. Carla, you're on the air.
How y'all doing?
We're mad up here.
Listen, we are an oppressed people, and we are continuously oppressing each other. I mean, even when we vote our own in. We vote our own black people in. And they make all of these promises about things they're going to do. Then when they get into office, it's like they act like we working for them instead of them working for the people. And this has gone on for too long. And then, then I'm not going to lie now, we get these black contractors, we get them these $100 million contracts to do work. They don't have to do the work. They want to beat people out their money, and they don't do right. Then they want to bicker when they don't get the contracts. They're not doing that. I'm just going to tell you, we as black people have failed all the way around. The education system, the economic system, we have become a lazy people, and we get these positions and we don't do right by them. Nor do we do right by ourselves, nor do we do right by. And thank y'all for taking my call.
Well, Carla, your points are well taken. We got a lot of work to do on both ends. We have low capacity in the business community. We have low skill sets over there. Our people have been decimated by drugs and lack of education and no training, no work, no shops, and no vocational schools in our community. And so we've been decimated on both ends, from the education standpoint and from the training standpoint. I run a construction company, and there are a real shortage in trackhoe operators and dozers and people that can run civil equipment and shoot grades, etc. The skill set's not hardly there anymore. And so, yes, we've been decimated. And so my thing is, at this point, it doesn't have to be all black, but black people have to be properly represented in the deal Maynard Jackson said that anybody that works at the airport will have a minority partner equal to 25% of the contract, and they will work in that field so that one day they become a prime contractor and compete with you. I'm not going to let you hire a black lawyer or a black lobbyist or a black pastor to perform your subcontract work. You're going to subcontract to a black contractor in that field. And so those are the kinds of things that we're going to have to put in place. Doesn't have to be all black. Yes, we have failed. We have failed in the leadership position. We've failed in the business development position. We don't have the capacity. We don't have the finance. We don't have hardly nothing. But yet we got to survive. And we got to find a way to get out of this situation. We got to recruit black businesses to come into Mississippi that have demonstrated capacity. We got to go on missions into India and get some Indians to come in here. The Indians represent the largest engineering community in the world. We got to go into Chicago and get some black folk. We got to fix it, and shadow government is going to have a recruitment plan. And we're going to tell you where black capable contractors are. And when we bring them in here, they're going to team with local black people. They're going to train and develop local black people so that one day the local black people can compete for those contracts for goods and services. We got a lot of work to do, caller. Let's take this call, Doc.
Okay.
Caller, you're on air.
Hello, gentlemen. How y'all doing tonight?
Fine, we're doing well.
This is Curtis Williams, and I work with Project Humanity. I heard one of the things you said concerning the people that you're trying to get to actually work in construction with you, and kind of to go back to what the caller was talking about. One of the things you mentioned early on about accountability, that's one of the things we really have to start addressing, especially in our community. There's a lot of things going on that we kind of dismiss or say it is what it is, when we need to be addressing it like a family and telling each other that's not right. We need to do better. We need to be better parents, and we need to be better partners to our friends. So that accountability I'm not seeing in our community. I'm actually seeing people attack one another when someone tries to hold you accountable. So as the caller was talking about, we do have some people who will take jobs, not finish them, and that gives the ones of us who do great jobs a bad name. And we have to be accountable for that reputation because we know where it came from. Just like we know where a lot of our problems are coming from. They're coming from us using and abusing substances in front of our kids and thinking that that's not a problem and wondering why the children are acting out. Well, the children are just the rash as you eat the thing you're allergic to. So as we decide to not parent, they're going to get worse and worse. So we have to address the mental health problem in this country.
We are out of time. Yes, I really appreciate your call, and I look forward to talking to you some more because we need your thought process. This has been all for tonight. We're signing off. See you next week. Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. On We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again.
Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the WeBelieve.global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit